Healing doesn't feel like you think it will. It doesn't arrive as a breakthrough. It doesn't announce itself with a moment of clarity. It's quieter than that. Slower. So slow that most people miss it entirely. It shows up in the nervous system first, not in the thoughts, not in the beliefs, in the body. The body that has been running an emergency protocol for years, decades maybe, begins to do something it hasn't done in a long time. It begins to soften, not all at once, not everywhere, but in small, specific, measurable ways that most people dismiss as coincidence or a good day. This video is about the signs that the softening is real. 10 quiet indicators that your nervous system is beginning to update. They're arranged on a spectrum from the earliest signs, the ones you might not even notice, to the most advanced, the ones that would have been impossible a year ago. None of these signs require you to feel healed. That's the point. Healing in the nervous system happens before you believe it's happening. The body updates first, the mind catches up later, and the gap between what your body's already doing and what your mind still believes, that gap is where hope lives. Sign 1. The earliest sign. You may not even notice it. You don't wake up at 3 a.m. as often, or when you do wake, you fall back asleep slightly faster. The sleep isn't perfect. It's not the deep, uninterrupted 8 hours the articles promise, but it's slightly deeper than it was, and slightly deeper is everything. The nervous system's willingness to go fully offline is one of the deepest acts of trust it can perform. For years, the system kept you close to the surface. Light sleep, one ear open, ready to wake at the slightest shift. That was survival. The system couldn't afford to be unconscious because unconsciousness was vulnerability. When the sleep gets slightly deeper, what the body is saying is, I'm beginning to believe it's safe enough to go fully under. Not completely, not yet, but slightly. That slightly is the nervous system's first yes. Sign 2. You're sitting somewhere, at your desk, in traffic, on the couch, and you realize your shoulders are not around your ears. Nobody told them to drop. You didn't do a relaxation exercise, they just released. This is the body remembering the shape of relaxation. For years, the shoulders held the shape of readiness, elevated, braced, prepared for impact. The muscles forgot what down felt like because up was the only safe position. And now, without instruction, the muscles are experimenting with a shape they haven't held in a long time. The spontaneous release is more significant than a deliberate one. When you consciously relax your shoulders, you're overriding the tension. When they drop on their own, the system itself is choosing to stand down. That's not you managing the tension. That's the tension deciding on its own that it's no longer needed. And you might not even recognize this as healing when it happens. You might just notice, my shoulders are down. That's weird. But that is the body's quiet announcement. Something has changed in the threat assessment. Something has been downgraded. The system is releasing a brace it's been holding since you were small enough to need it. And it's releasing it not because you told it to, because it collected enough data to decide on its own. Sign 3. You're mid-fawn, mid-people please, mid-apology, mid-disappearing act, and something interrupts. Not a thought, a noticing, a tiny awareness that says, wait, I'm doing the thing again. Previously, the pattern would complete itself before you saw it. You'd agree to something you didn't want, and only realize an hour later. You'd absorb someone's mood and only recognize it that night. The awareness came after the fact. Too late to change anything. Now the noticing is catching up. The lag between the pattern and the awareness is shrinking, not gone, shrinking. And that shortened lag is one of the clearest signs of neural updating. The system isn't just running the old program anymore. It's watching the program run. And a system that watches itself is a system that can eventually choose. Sign 4. You're in a room and it's quiet. And for the first time, the quiet doesn't trigger scanning. For a nervous system in survival mode, silence was never neutral. Silence was the space where threats could hide. The absence of noise was not peace. It was a gap in the intelligence. The system used silence as a reason to heighten alertness. If I can't hear the danger, I need to look harder for it. When silence begins to feel like silence, not like the absence of warning signals, but like actual quiet, the system is reclassifying its threat list. Silence is being moved from potentially dangerous to neutral or even restorative. That reclassification is not cognitive, it's somatic. The body is deciding from its own evidence that quiet is safe, and the body's decisions, once made, are more durable than any thought you could think. Sign 5. We're moving to the middle of the spectrum. A feeling arrives. Sadness, frustration, grief. And instead of rushing to fix, explain, or suppress it, you sit with it. Even for a few seconds, the survival mode nervous system treats feelings as problems to solve. Sadness arrives and the system immediately asks, what do I do about this? How do I make it stop? The feeling isn't experienced, it's managed. Because in the original environment, unmanaged feelings were dangerous. They led to vulnerability, and vulnerability led to harm. When you can sit with a feeling without immediately doing something about it, the system is learning a new lesson. Feelings don't have to be emergencies. They can just exist. They can move through you without requiring action. That tolerance, the ability to let a feeling be without reflexively managing it, is one of the most advanced things a healing nervous system can do. And it starts with seconds, a few seconds of sitting with the feeling before the management kicks in. Those few seconds are the update. And here's what makes this sign so important. The ability to tolerate a feeling without action is the opposite of what the survival system was designed to do. The survival system's entire purpose was to convert feelings into action instantly. Feel threatened? Act. Feel vulnerable. Defend. Feel sad. Suppress. The system was a feeling to action converter with no pause button. When you can sit with a feeling for even 5 seconds without the converter firing, you've installed the pause button. And that pause button is the single most important piece of hardware in the healing nervous system. Sign 6. A door slams. A phone buzzes. Someone enters the room unexpectedly, and the jolt is slightly less, not gone, but the spike is shorter. The recovery is faster. The alarm rings, but it doesn't ring as long. The startle response is one of the most primitive indicators of nervous system state. A system in chronic threat mode startles big. The alarm fires hard, the body braces completely, the recovery takes minutes. A system that is beginning to feel safe startles smaller. The alarm still fires. It's designed to, but the amplitude is lower and the return to baseline is quicker. You may notice this in mundane moments. A car honking doesn't ruin your next 10 minutes the way it used to. A loud sound doesn't send your heart racing for as long. The system is recalibrating what constitutes a real threat versus background noise. And every time the startle softens, the system is logging. That wasn't dangerous. I can recover faster. The data accumulates, and the baseline imperceptibly shifts. Sign 7. Someone says something kind about you, and instead of immediately deflecting, dismissing, or redirecting, you take it in. Maybe not fully, maybe with discomfort, but you don't bat it away on reflex. For the nervous system calibrated by a household where praise was strategic or conditional, compliments register as threats. The system learned. Positive input is the setup. Something bad follows. So the deflection wasn't modesty. It was preemptive defense. When a compliment begins to land, even partially, even uncomfortably, the system is recalibrating its relationship with positive input. It's beginning to consider the possibility that not all praise is a trap, that some kindness is simply kind. This recalibration takes time because the original learning was deep and consistent, but each compliment that lands, even a little, is rewriting the code. Sign 8. You stop. You sit. You do nothing productive, and the guilt is quieter. Not gone, but quieter. The survival system equates rest with vulnerability and productivity with safety. For years, every rest attempt was met by an internal alarm. You should be doing something. You're wasting time. Something will go wrong if you stop. The guilt wasn't moral, it was a security alert. When the guilt around rest begins to soften, the system is reclassifying rest from security breach to maintenance. The body is learning that stopping doesn't lead to catastrophe, that the guard can come down and the world continues. Each rest without consequence is data, and the nervous system updates on data, not on affirmation. You can't tell the system rest is safe, you have to show it. And every time you rest and nothing bad happens, the system logs another data point. Rest is survivable. Rest might even be necessary. Sign 9. Approaching the advanced end of the spectrum. You're in a situation that previously would have produced numbness, compliance, or shutdown, and instead you feel anger. This sign surprises people because it feels like going backwards. Wasn't I supposed to be getting calmer? Why am I suddenly angry about things I used to accept without flinching? The answer, you're angry because you're finally safe enough to be. In survival mode, anger was a luxury the system couldn't afford. Anger requires safety to express. If the environment was dangerous, anger was suppressed because expressing it could escalate the danger. So the system flattened anger into numbness, compliance, or fawning. Those were safer outputs. When anger surfaces, it means the system has determined the environment is now safe enough for the dangerous emotion to be felt. The anger isn't new, it's old, stored from every moment you weren't safe enough to feel it. And its emergence is not a setback. It's the system saying, we're safe enough now. We can feel the things we couldn't feel before. That's not getting worse. That's the most advanced form of healing there is. Think of it this way. In a house fire, you don't stop to feel angry about who started the fire. You run. The anger can only come after you're safe, after the fire is out, after the immediate threat has passed. If anger is finally arriving about things that happened years ago, it means the fire is out. You're safe enough now to turn around and look at what happened. And the anger, old as it is appropriate. It was always appropriate. You just couldn't afford to feel it until now. Sign 10. The far end of the spectrum. The most advanced sign. You're somewhere ordinary, in bed, on a walk, cooking dinner, and you notice it. A sensation you can't quite name at first. The absence of bracing, the absence of scanning, the absence of the hum. Not permanent, not total, but present. For a moment, the alarm is quiet and you are here. Just here. For someone who has lived inside the hum for decades, the first experience of felt safety is disorienting. It doesn't feel like peace. It feels like something is missing, because something is missing. The emergency. The background that has been running for so long that you forgot it was running. And in its brief absence, you feel the shape of what your life could be without it. And the feeling doesn't last. It arrives for seconds, maybe a minute, and then the hum returns. But the point is not the duration. The point is that the sensation was produced. For the first time, your nervous system generated the felt experience of safety, not the concept, the sensation. And a sensation, once generated, can be generated again. Each time it returns, briefly, unexpectedly, in ordinary moments, it stays slightly longer, not dramatically, not linearly, but directionally. The system is learning a new baseline, not by thinking about safety, by feeling it. And what the body learns through feeling, it never entirely forgets. And this is the most beautiful thing about nervous system healing. The endpoint is not the absence of pain, it's the presence of safety. Not safety as an idea you agree with, safety as a sensation your body produces. The warmth in the chest, the quiet behind the eyes, the absence of the brace. You've been working toward this sensation your entire healing journey. And when it arrives, for 3 seconds on a Tuesday while you're cooking dinner, it's not a small thing. It's the body's proof that the emergency is finally genuinely beginning to end. 10 signs. From sleeping slightly deeper to catching yourself feeling safe, each one quiet, each one easy to dismiss as a good day, but together they're not a good day. They're a new direction, a body that has been bracing for decades beginning to soften, an alarm that has been running since childhood beginning to dim. If you recognized yourself anywhere on this spectrum, the thing to understand is you don't need to be at sign 10. You don't need to feel safe yet. You just need to notice the signs that are already here. The slightly deeper sleep, the shoulders that dropped without instruction, the pattern you caught mid-flight. These are not small things. They are the nervous system's evidence that the update is happening, even when your mind doesn't believe it yet. If you're tracking your healing journey and want a way to see the progress your mind keeps missing, our Inner Lens Healing Tracker, exclusive for members, includes a daily safety scale, body tension tracking, and a section specifically for logging these quiet nervous system shifts. The invisible progress becomes visible on paper. Join using the Join button below. At Inner Lens, we notice the healing nobody talks about, the slow kind, the kind that happens in the body before the mind catches up. If this video gave you evidence of something already shifting, carry it gently. The body knows what it's doing. Trust the data.